When will you open, Del? What are the racing dates?
June the 28th through August the 24th, 50 nights.
And you have officially named it? What is the name going to be?
Meadows. I think it's a wonderful name. It's soft, and it's a historical name in this part of the country.
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania legalized parimutuel horse racing in December of 1959. 3 years later, Delvin Miller moved ahead with plans to build a 5/8 mile track in Washington County. The brokerage firm of Moore, Leonard, and Lynch gave the Washington Trotting Association a check for $3.6 million to get the project underway. On November 29, 1962, media and dozens of dignitaries gathered for the groundbreaking ceremony as Miller and General Manager Joseph Lynch turned the first shovels of dirt. The race was on, literally, to get the track ready for a planned opening on June 28, 1963. It was described as a $4.5 million stake race between the construction crews and the calendar. The goal was a 50-night harness racing meet, but a huge task faced the contractors with plenty of work to be done. What was just a hillside and farmland required earth to be moved not only to put in a track, but also to construct a grandstand, including all of the necessary wiring to support parimutuel wagering. Also needed were several barns and access roads, and all had to be made from scratch in an area located 5 miles north of Washington, Pennsylvania, and 20 miles south of Pittsburgh, but close to Delvin Miller's own Meadowlands farm. Meadowcroft Village, which became home to Miller's personal museum, uncovered an interview with Delvin Miller recorded in late 1962.
We've officially got this thing underway now. How about construction? Are you satisfied with it?
Yes, everything's going the day, Ed. American Bridge is coming along fine with their grandstand, and the stable area is coming along good. Our roads are coming along well. In fact, everything is a little ahead of schedule.
And I think accessibility from a traffic standpoint will be in pretty good shape.
That'll be pretty well ironed out before spring. There's a new road in the drawings to go between Route 19 and the new interstate highway. In case that's not finished by opening, we're going to throw a temporary bridge across 19 and put a temporary road in so we won't have any big traffic problems.
All right, how many people can you get in here, Del?
Well, we're planning on 15,000 people with a stand of 3,000 and bleachers of 1,000 or more. And at a racetrack, there's one person standing for, or three persons standing for every one setting.
And when will you open, Del? What are the racing dates?
It's June the 28th through August the 24th, 50 nights.
And you have officially named it? What is the name going to be?
Meadows. I think it's a wonderful name. It's soft, and it's a historical name in this part of the country because back in the Indian days, the Indians encamped back over the hills here at a place called the Great Meadows. So I think with the meadows in the countryside, I think it's a wonderful name.
Best of luck with it, Del Miller.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
Perhaps the most famous part of the construction of the Meadows was the track itself, the tartan track. In 1957, a thoroughbred trainer challenged one of his owners to create a surface that would hold up to horses and not be affected by weather. That owner was the chairman of the board of 3M, the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, and raced under the name of the Tartan Stable. The tartan surface was first tested on a walking ring at Belmont Park, then in the on-deck circle used by the Minnesota Twins, then as a parking lot at the 3M Company. In the winter of 1962-63, a 20-foot wide strip was installed at Max Hemp's training center near Harrisburg. The tartan track was then installed at the Meadows in the spring of 1963. The 80-foot wide surface had a price tag of $750,000, but required little upkeep.
And that was supposedly going to be the track of the future. Hardly any maintenance. Some people called it the rubber track and all, but it was just very nice.
Several top horsemen from around the country came to fill the Meadows' new barn area, including some of the greatest names in the sport, like Stanley Dancer, Joe O'Brien, and Billy Houghton. Everyone in harness racing had their eyes on Western Pennsylvania as opening night approached.
Delvin did a super job getting everything coordinated. Delvin had connections with everyone in the sport, and they come in to support him.
Finally, with a last cleaning of the tartan track, all the work had been completed, and the Meadows opened as scheduled on June 28, 1963. The first race in track history was won by Wee Crusader with Dick Wood driving. The winning time was 2:08 1/5. This photo from the archives of the Washington Observer-Reporter newspaper captures the moment. Longtime Meadows patron Joe Fusco was in attendance on opening night.
Well, the first memory started with the trip down to the track. I lived in Hempfield Township, came down with my father and the next door neighbor, and Route 70 wasn't completed at the time. You went down so far, had to get off, get back on Route 136, back on 70, back on 136, then eventually 70. So it was really a journey to get down to the track. But the first night, it was packed. Now, I had just graduated from high school, and my eyes were wide open. And it was a very nice night, and it was, like I say, people, very many on the apron level, and it was an enjoyable thing, and my eyes were open to harness racing for me for the first time. There weren't a lot of wagering options. It was a later post, but that was a lot of people needed that time to get home from work, and for us to trip down, you know, it took us a while to get here, so that worked out good for us. But I can remember, but you had a wager in one area, and to cash your ticket, you had to go behind the area where you wagered to get your money. It was in two different places, altogether different than it is now.
7,461 people attended the Meadows on June 28, 1963, listening to the race calls of the original voice of the Meadows, the late Charlie Hinkle.
Warrior Kurt breaks away with the rail and the lead. That's the way they come by the quarter mark in that order. On top of the field, by the stand, Elm Star. And back out comes Jeff and Joe. And here they are now, around the 5K. It's coming close for second. Rookie's lad coming on now, trying for second too. Rookie's lad trying for second, and he's got it.
More than $181,000 was wagered on the opening card, the start of a successful 50-night run. More than $10 million was wagered during the inaugural meet, with an average attendance of more than 6,000. On closing night in August of 1963, 11,150 people packed the grandstand and the apron level. As soon as the final race ended, construction crews went back to work on an expansion project. "50 years later, much has changed around the Meadows 5/8 mile oval. A modern racino now overlooks a limestone surface track, one which has produced some of the top moments in harness racing history.
Racers are in behind the gate from the rail out. Annihilator, Pershing Square, Dragon's Lair, Broadway Express, Dragon's Lair. Here comes Annihilator on the move on the outside. Pershing Square, 3/4, 1:25 and 1, 28 and 3. Dragon's Lair by 2 1/4. Annihilator on the outside. Pershing Square on the outside. Broadway Express. Less than an 8. It's Dragon's Lair by 2 1/2. Here comes Annihilator and Broadway Express. Dragon's Lair, Annihilator, Dragon's Lair wins the Breeders' Crown. 1:54, 1/5, another world's record.
I was totally elated. Of course, we had a lot of people there, and I was just overwhelmed. I really felt that it was my moment, you know. I really admired Billy Houghton, but I thought that he wasn't taking us seriously. I saw them get ready for the Breeders' Crown, and they went a training mile in 2:30 and put the horse away. So I didn't think they were as prepared to go 2 heats as I was. Except for the birth of my son, Scott, it was the greatest moment of my life. You know, it was the moment for me. And it was a tough act to follow because, you know, winning that race at home and beating an undefeated horse like Nihilator, you know, it was just such a big deal that I really never thought that I could top that.
He was one of the favorites going into the race. I thought if he raced good, he'd win. Mr. Davis, he also thought that the horse, with the way he's been racing, that we was just hoping he'd win because we're home and everybody come to see him race, and we had a big celebration afterwards, whether we win or lose.
Around the turn, Barberry Spur leads the way, past the half in 56-1, 28-2. As they race to the backside, on top of the field, Barberry Spur. It's Barberry Spur with the lead. Tyler's Mark racing second. Cash Asset is third.
From the head of lane home, I knew he'd hang on and win. It was Campbell was coming at him, but he wasn't getting to him through the lane, so he got to a certain point, and that was it, and he held on and won.
Barberry Spur, Tyler's Mark on the outside, down the lane, it's Tyler's Mark coming on, Barberry Spur, Tyler's Mark second, Barberry Spur's got some more, here he is, 153-1. Down the stretch they come. Caspian Caviar. Herculot Hanover in the lightning lane. Chip to my little. Herculot Hanover. It started March the 15th, 1983 with Red's Folly. Today with Herculot Hanover, a new all-time record in harness racing for winning driver Dave Pallone, 15,181. They're off and pacing a rock and roll dance, and Yannick Gingras goes right for the lead. Bolt the Doer on the inside. In between horses, Ben's got it with a rock and roll dance. Opening quarter, 25-1. Yes, 25-1. Racing six, thinking out loud. Halfway home, 52-4. They're still going at it down the backside. 3 in, 3 out at the 3 quarters. 1:19-2. And they're all within 4 lengths. 1/8 of a mile to go. A rock and roll dance, the leader. Bolt the Doer second. Sweet Lou fades between horses. Down the stretch, a rock and roll dance. Bolt the Doer goes to the lightning lane. Rock and roll dance. Bolt the Doer. Mark McDowell wins the Adios with Bolt the Doer. World's record, 147-4.
The Meadows has produced fond memories for thousands upon thousands of harness racing fans over the past 5 decades. The track's longevity and success serve as a tribute to those who worked to bring the Meadows from a dream to a destination 50 years ago.